every year. So yeah, we have discussed all about these things. So and also finally we have talked about air quality index, which one is preferred, like good air quality. If it is below 100, and it will be very unhealthy if you see the air quality index goes above 400. So this already we have discussed, and we can cut down or slow down the air pollution by following these measures. Okay. So there are few measurement techniques also we have seen. Nowadays there are mostly electronic devices which are available, ready to use. You can check the air pollution level for different pollutant digitally. So these are some experimental setup which are previously used by weather stations or any on-site. So these are still in use, but nowadays there are compact devices available. Okay, so just we have reviewed one or two air pollution measurement devices. Okay, now today let's discuss about the now we know that air pollutant consists of so many other different compounds. Okay, so why these are important and how it is actually related to the environment and the people living in and around a industrial area. So we need to evaluate the atmospheric pollutant, its dispersion, or whether it is stable or not. Okay, so why these are important to study? Because if you know the air pollutant dispersion, basically the government, they set different type of rules by which they can regulate and protect the atmosphere or air quality. So that is why it is necessary to know about atmospheric dispersion or the air pollutant dispersion. And another thing is, if you are setting up new industry, or if you are setting up a new type of equipment or instrument which causes or which produces some exhaust, so whether it complies with your national standard. Okay, so to have a check on that, you also need to know atmospheric pollution, or how the pollutant is actually stable or dispersing. So basically, when we talk about dispersion of the atmospheric pollutant, we talk about the chimney exhaust, highway traffic like vehicular exhaust, and forest fire. These are some of the categories. Okay. Now, so these are some of the national air quality standards. If the levels are below these maintained standard levels, then your air quality index is in a good level, like it will be between 0 to 100. So generally, the figures are mentioned here for different pollutions: carbon monoxide, lead, nitrogen dioxide, you can see, and the measurement or concentration level are measured over this is a time averaging. Okay, 8-hour averaging or 1 hour averaging. So based on this averaging period, you can actually see how much concentration is allowed, okay, in the atmosphere or in a particular region when you're trying to measure, do the
Uh,
measurement. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask that if like the air quality varies according to the geography also, like where we have like more number of trees and all that, and where there is just only a city
Mm-hmm.
area. So,
Mm-hmm.
so does this apply? Like, is this a universal one, or
Yeah, it
like
is.
the
It is
standard?
actually a standard number. This number can vary from country to country. But when you talk about forest region or a urban region, definitely you know that in the forest or where you have more greenery, the numbers will be less. By default, numbers will be less. Okay. Now, when you cut down the tree, this number will rise. Okay, so that is how it is causing or affecting the atmosphere. So these numbers are fixed. Okay, these are standard numbers, but may vary from a region to region. Like one particular country may be following these values, the other countries may be slightly following higher or smaller. Okay, but more or less these numbers are standardized. Okay, so what I am talking here is based on USA. Okay, because I did not get the Indian numbers. So just to give you a brief idea, like what are the figures you can see, allowable figures. So you can see here. Right.
Okay.
Okay, so now when we talk about like atmospheric pollutants are whether they are stable or unstable. Like if they are stable, then they are not going to damage to the environment. And if they are not stable, then they will create lot of hazards to the environment as well as in and around region, whoever is living there, not only the human beings but also to the animals as well. Okay, so stability of the um, atmospheric pollutant or air pollutant, it depends on the stability of the atmosphere. If your atmosphere is stable, then your pollutant is also going to be stable. Like why you can relate that, because whatever exhaust we are talking, like the chimney exhaust or vehicular exhaust, the form of exhaust is basically gas. Okay, those are normally called as flue gas, or it can be particulate matter, but again the density wise they are also very similar to the density of air. Okay, so if you can talk about stability of the atmosphere, we can by default can say about how the air pollutant will be behaving in that particular region. If the atmosphere is stable in that location on that region, then your pollutant will be also going to behave in the same manner as the atmosphere. Okay, because the density wise the variation of the pollutant and the air density or atmosphere density, they are more or less same. They are in the same order of magnitude. Okay, so we will talk about atmospheric stability here, and like I said, this is applicable for the pollutant stability also. So in a stable atmosphere, if your pollutant or the motion of the pollutant is not enhanced, or then it is called stable. If your motion of the pollutant is enhanced, then it will be called as unstable atmosphere. Okay, so that we will see subsequently. So what causes the pollutant to become unstable? Basically there will be a force balance, you can see. One is your buoyancy force, the other one is your weight of the pollutant. Okay, so here when we talk about weight of the pollutant, you can consider the pollutant as a air element itself, because density wise they are very similar as the air, I said. So to do the analysis, we consider that pollutant to be air parcel or air element. Okay, so weight of the air element and the buoyancy force, that will govern the stability of the air element itself. Okay, so you can see that these will be the only two forces acting on the air element at a particular, if you draw a free body diagram. Now why air element, why an air element will continue to move up or down, it depends on what is the surrounding density. Like let's say the density of the air element that you are trying to investigate is density is sometimes let's say call it as rho 1. Okay, and now the surrounding density, if it is rho 2, and if the surrounding density is higher than the air element density, okay, then the air element will continue to rise or fall down. If the density of air element is higher than the surrounding, then what will happen?
The pollutant will keep rising.
Pollutant will keep rising? No, I think
Not, it will
it will settle
fall,
down.
fall.
It will settle down, because if the pollutant density is larger, then it will be automatically heavier than the surrounding, and that will start to fall down. Okay, the reverse is possible.
Right?
If pollutant is having smaller density than the surrounding, then it will rise. So now how do we see, or how do we check the variation of the surrounding, or the variation of the density of the surrounding? That you know that it depends on the temperature gradient. Okay, that is obvious. If, as we know that as you go higher in the atmosphere, in different atmospheric layer, there is a change in the temperature gradient. The temperature varies in different atmospheric layer, and based on that you can also say that there will be density gradient of the atmosphere. Okay, so now you can compare the density of the surrounding and the density of the air element, and can find out whether they will be the pollutant will be stable at a location, or it is going to keep on rising, or it will fall down. Okay, so now the concern is, okay, we know that the temperature fall as we go high, but why the temperature falls? So there are two different regions. two different regions that contributes to the temperature, the decrease in the temperature. The very first one is atmospheric pressure fall. Okay, so like you know that as you go high, the density of the air molecule or the amount of the air molecules will be reduced. Okay, so as you are in the troposphere, you know that air is quite compressed and it is highly dense. But as you go high, the density of the air molecule by itself is reducing because the distribution of the or the amount of air molecules are less. So that will leads to reduction in your pressure. Okay, so reduction in your pressure, then it will contribute to reduction in the temperature. Okay, so that you can relate with the gas laws. All right. So, and the second one, in the higher atmosphere, you don't have greenhouse gas effects. Like you don't have those like we have discussed about like nitrous oxide and sulfuric oxide. Those concentration will be less, so therefore the greenhouse effects are less. That's why you also get reduction in the temperature. So these two are factors which contributes like reduction in the temperature as you go high. Now we can actually categorize this reduction in the temperature in two ways. Okay, so one of the ways atmospheric lapse rate. Okay, so here lapse rate is the rate of change of the temperature as you go high. Okay, so lapse rate is a term. It's basically, it defines is the rate of change of the temperature as you go high. So lapse rate will be considered as positive if the temperature decreases with the elevation. Like if you're going high and the temperature is reducing, then your lapse rate is positive. If the temperature is not changing with the elevation, then your lapse rate is 0. If the temperature is increasing with the elevation, then your lapse rate is negative. Like we have seen in certain atmospheric layer, the temperature also rises. Okay, so in that region, your lapse rate will be negative. Okay, so yeah, so how these lapse rate are basically governed? These are governed by different atmospheric conditions like radiation, convection, and condensation. Whatever molecules, air molecules are present in that particular atmospheric layer, based on that, they will be the heat transfer will be defined based on the radiation, convection, or condensation, and that governs the lapse rate. Okay, so the change in the atmospheric temperature is basically related using atmospheric lapse rate. Similarly, there is another lapse rate we need to define, which is adiabatic lapse rate. Okay, so here adiabatic lapse rate is the rate of fall of the temperature, like the definition is mentioned here, rate of fall of the temperature or the air element which is done adiabatically. That means there is no heat exchange between the surrounding. Okay, so the temperature is changing in the air element, but that temperature is not being exchanged, or the heat is not being exchanged with the surrounding. So that means you can say that all the temperature changes are done internally, okay, or adiabatically, and for that the events should occur at a very fast rate. Okay, so the previous one we discussed about the atmospheric lapse rate, where you have the exchange of the temperature between the surrounding. Okay, so there is an exchange of the heat between the surrounding, but if it is if the temperature change is happening in an air element adiabatically, that means there is no exchange of heat between the surrounding, then it will be called as adiabatic lapse rate. And this adiabatic lapse rate we will relate with the pollutant, and the previous one is with your atmospheric lapse rate. Okay, with the atmosphere. So give you an example here to differentiate between atmospheric lapse rate and the adiabatic lapse rate, so that you will be more clear. Now consider an air particle is having a differential heat than its surrounding. Okay, if it is having a higher temperature than the surrounding, or let's talk about in terms of its density. If it is lighter than the surrounding, then it is going to rise up. If it is heavier than the surrounding, then it is going to go down. And the surrounding temperature and the air parcel or air element temperature is different at this moment. Now, if the air parcel receives, like you can read here, if the air parcel receives some heat from the surrounding air, its temperature is going to rise. Okay, then its temperature is also going to rise, as well as its volume is also going to change. Okay, by that, if your volume is increasing, then there will be fall in the density, and because of which the air parcel is going to go up. Now in this case, you can see that there is an interaction or exchange of the heat between the air element and the surrounding. Okay, so the density is reduced because of the heat interaction between the air element and the surrounding, and this sort of interaction is called as non-adiabatic, because there is a heat exchange between the air element and the surrounding. So it's not a non-adiabatic process. This process can be done in an adiabatic manner. If you can see that the air element starts to rise, okay, and as it is going high, the ambient air pressure is also reducing. Okay, so because we saw that as you go high, the density of the surrounding is reduced, so the ambient air pressure is also reduced. So with the fall in ambient air temperature, the temperature of the air element will also fall and the volume increases. Okay, so this process will be called adiabatic, because in this case there is no exchange between the exchange of the heat between the air parcel and the surrounding. So that's why this is, you can consider as adiabatic. In both the case, the temperature is being fall, means temperature is falling down and the air element is moving up, but in one case it is exchanging heat with the surrounding, and in other case it is done internally. Okay, so that is the difference. One is your atmospheric lapse rate, the other one is your adiabatic lapse rate. All right, I hope it is clear. Okay, so adiabatic, so the rate at which adiabatic temperature change occur, that will be called as adiabatic lapse rate, and the other one we saw that the rate at which atmospheric temperature changes, that will be called as atmospheric lapse rate. Okay, so again the adiabatic lapse rate will be called positive if the temperature is falling down, and it will be called negative if temperature is rising up. Okay,
Sir,
now let's
possible,
yes.
sorry, sir, I have a doubt.
Hmm.
So is it possible physically for the air to rise up and like go up the layers of atmosphere but not exchange any heat with the surrounding air? I think adiabatic lapse rate, this seems very purely theoretical.
No, it is not theoretical. Actually, we are discussing from an air element viewpoint, but that air element itself is your pollutant. Okay, so when there is some exhaust from the chimney, or when there is something your vehicular exhaust, so it doesn't get time to interact, or the exhaust particle doesn't get time to interact with the surrounding, and the lot of changes happen in itself internally, like internal energy distribution leads to its temperature distribution, change in the temperature distribution. So it is not only theoretical, it is actually it actually happens, and it attains an equilibrium. Like later on we will see that atmospheric and adiabatic lapse rate, they attains an equilibrium. Okay, so why I'm telling it happens, because the time required for the change, something you can understand in this way. You know that there is a latent heat of evaporation or latent heat of melting. So you can see that there is a change. If you consider an ice cube, how it melts, it changes its latent heat, and it changes phase also from solid phase to liquid phase. So whatever change happens there, it will be called as adiabatic change. Okay, so in that way also you can relate the exhaust from the chimney and exhaust from the vehicle. There is a possibilities that the heat exchange can happen in a adiabatic manner. Okay.
So
So,
adiabatic, that means
so
the air parcel will exchange heat among like within itself.
Within itself, yes, internally. That is what
So
I'm
like,
telling.
so the air parcel will consist of pollutants and some air. Let's say the exhaust from the chimney will have some
Yes.
pollutants and some air. and the pollutants in the air will exchange heat among themselves, but not with the surrounding.
Not with the surrounding. It is like a bubble of pollutant, you can say. Everything is, the change is happening in it. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so now let's see mathematically how we can relate the atmospheric lapse rate and adiabatic lapse rate. Okay, so this is like I've said, as you go high in the atmosphere, the temperature reduces, and that reduction is governed by this atmospheric lapse rate parameter, which is lambda here. So dt by dz is the change in temperature. And z is your actually vertical parameter, like the height. So here, if you integrate it, you get t minus t0 minus lambda times z minus z0. So z naught or t naught, these are the values at the sea level. Okay. So which are considered to be the reference values. So atmospheric temperature at the sea level, and z naught is your sea level height. Okay. Then it is found that in the stratosphere, basically your lambda is 6.5 degree Kelvin per kilometer. So like per kilometer, this is the rate of change of your temperature. Okay, if you have sea level temperature 288 Kelvin, and this is your atmospheric pressure. Okay, this is standard atmospheric pressure and standard atmospheric temperature. Then your lambda is this. So this is an average value. Okay, you can see that this is not the exact value because it depends on various other factor. Okay, this is not only so we know that like already we have discussed, in an urban area, in a suburban area, or in a open land, so there will be the atmospheric lapse rate will be also different, as well as depending on the time of the year. If you're talking about the summer time, winter time, or in a day itself, day and night, so your atmospheric lapse rate will be as varying. Okay, so but it will be nearby this value. It will not drastically change. It will be nearby this value. Okay. So this is about the atmospheric lapse rate, the change, and this equation talks about how the atmospheric temperature changes with height. Similarly, let's see about air pollutant, how we can find out its temperature. Like I said, in the air pollutant, the process itself is adiabatic. It is very fast. So you need to follow the adiabatic equations. So let's say T is your temperature at the moment you are that you are interested to find out. Ts is your reference temperature, or the temperature at the sea level. Okay. And this will be your relation with the pressure. Okay, this is your adiabatic equation, and gamma is your specific heat ratio. All right. And P you can find out from your perfect gas law. Okay, P will be equal to rho RT. So now our objective is to compare your adiabatic lapse rate with the atmospheric lapse rate, so that we can find out whether your air pollutant will be stable or not. Okay, with that idea, we started this discussion, right? So now let's see how we can relate them. We know that yes.
So like how we decide the sea level for any particular area, like because we don't take it as zero, right? So what how we I think it we are taking it as variable with different areas, right? So
Yes, when we actually have, there is something called STP, standard atmospheric pressure and temperature. Okay, when we define that, we try to find out, or this could be very theoretical. It is not very practical. Like, it changes over time. So for that, you need to study a bit more on the meteorological side, how they defines those standard pressure, temperature. So wherever you can maintain this particular atmospheric pressure, because you know that if you go high, your pressure reduces. If you go down, your pressure will be higher. So if you can have this reference pressure, Then based on that, you can find out your sea level, that you make it a reference 0, and the temperature whenever the temperature is 27°C. So you can set that as a standard. Okay.
Okay, with these reference conditions.
Reference values, yes. So we can, so our objective is to relate this adiabatic and atmospheric lapse rate, like I was telling. So pressure, we have already seen that pressure in a vertical direction, it reduces to your hydrostatic condition, right? So basically dP will be equals to minus rho g dz. This we have already seen during the atmospheric boundary layer. So now here, this P, you can actually, or rather you can relate this rho, get this rho from the perfect gas law. Okay, P equals to rho RT. So rho you can substitute in terms of P and RT. So if you rewrite, that equation will looks like this, and integrate it from Z0 from the sea level to the height you are interested at Z, and similarly P0 to P. Okay. Now there we are also doing some other modification here. So this T you can obtain from your adiabatic equation. So you can see that I have substituted this T in terms of adiabatic equation, Ts. Okay, so from this equation basically, and after you perform the integration, so this will be your final form. Okay, so it will have P naught and Z naught. Okay, and you can see that this equation is in terms of Ts value, or the pollutant temperature at the sea level. So you can, then what you can do is substitute P by P naught from equation number 2. Okay, so what is your equation number 2? This is your equation number 2. So you can substitute P by P naught in terms of temperature. Okay, so then the final form of equation reduces to this. So if you see here, this is where you need to substitute temperature and pressure values in terms of temperature. Then this will be your final form of equation. Okay, give me a moment, please. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so in this equation, you can see that something similar to your atmospheric lapse rate. I have relation between temperature and temperature at the sea level, pollutant temperature at the sea level, and the relation with the height. Okay, so if you see equation number 1, it is T minus T naught, and on the RHS side you have lambda, which is your atmospheric lapse rate. Here you have T minus T naught, and on the RHS you have gamma.
Have you shared the screen out now?
You can't see. Okay, let me see this here. Is it visible now?
No. Okay,
Yes,
I will try to rejoin.
Okay. So you can see that here I am defining another lapse rate. Here why I am telling it is a lapse rate, because there is a change in the temperature. Change in the temperature from its original reference value. So previously it was T naught, now it is Ts. Since we are seeing there is a change, so we can define a lapse rate. And this process we have seen, we have derived everything based on the adiabatic equation. So here we define this term gamma as your adiabatic lapse rate. Okay, and again you can see that this value is around 9.8, but it is not fixed. Again, it varies with the atmospheric condition, like the way atmospheric lapse rate varies. Similarly, adiabatic lapse rate also varies depending on the constituents of the exhaust, at what temperature you are releasing. Based on that, also the constituent has a different heat absorption property or heat radiation property. So it depends on the pollutant basically. Okay, so adiabatic lab state is also not fixed, but it should be in this range. Okay. Now, so we basically need to now relate your lambda and your gamma term and see whether we can judge from the temperature values whether atmosphere is stable or unstable. Okay, if your air pollutant, so here how do we define whether it is stable or unstable? If your air element, that means your pollutant continues to rise, then that will be called as unstable. If your air element or pollutant settle down, then that will be called as stable. Okay, now if we compare your atmospheric lab state and your adiabatic lab state, okay, that means lambda and gamma, if they are same, that means so Z is your vertical height, T is your temperature. Okay, so as you are going high, we know that the temperature will reduce from your atmospheric lab state, and since they are same, so the rate of reduction of the temperature will be same. Okay, so the rate of reduction of the temperature will be same. So in this case, what you can see, the pollutant is also going up, it's reducing in temperature, but simultaneously the temperature of the air is also reduced. Okay, or the surrounding air is also reduced, so the pollutant will continue to rise vertically up. Okay, so we will see subsequently, like in the next slide. So this particular condition is called neutrally stable atmosphere. So in this case it is this is called neutral atmosphere, and this situation is practically it is not seen, but what is going to happen to the pollutant in this case? The pollutant will continue to rise. Okay, because there is an dynamic equilibrium, so the pollutant will keep on rising in this case. Okay, so the other case is when you have lambda is less than your gamma, that means your atmospheric lapse rate is smaller than your adiabatic lapse rate. Okay, so in this case it will be called as subadiabatic. Okay, because your atmospheric lapse rate is less than your adiabatic lapse rate, so it will be called as subadiabatic. So in this case you can realize that as you are going high, your rate of reduction of the air is here, whereas your rate of reduction of the pollutant will be larger, right? Because this is larger, so rate of reduction will be larger. So in this case, since the pollutant temperature is smaller than the temperature of the atmosphere surrounding, so here this will be higher. So if you compare about the density, then it will be higher dense than the surrounding. That's why it will starts to settle down. Okay, so or otherwise it will be called as stable atmosphere. Okay, when you are adiabatic, when you have subadiabatic condition, you can see that your pollutant is going to settle down, or it will be called as stable atmosphere. Okay, something similarly you can relate if your atmospheric lapse rate is greater than your adiabatic lapse rate. Okay, so then it will be called as super adiabatic. Okay, so in this case your rate of reduction of temperature of the pollutant is smaller, whereas atmospheric reduction is larger. So that means if I compare at the same height, my pollutant has a higher temperature than the atmosphere, and the pollutant having a higher temperature, it will have a smaller density. That's why it will continue to rise. Okay, so that's why it will be called as unstable atmosphere. Okay, so in this case, if you have super adiabatic condition, then that will be called as unstable atmosphere. It will continue to rise. So there could be a situation where you have lambda can be positive and your adiabatic lapse rate can be negative. Okay, so this you need to read it as, I think I will change when I say the slide. So this is basically your adiabatic lapse rate, which is negative. Okay, so in this case you can see that this will be very stable. Okay, at a particular height, if you compare, your atmosphere temperature is larger, but your adiabatic temperature of the particle is smaller. Okay, so the particle will starts to settle down, or the pollutant particle will starts to settle down. Okay, so this will be very stable condition. Now, based on this relation between your atmospheric lapse rate and adiabatic lapse rate, there are different plume behaviors, or plumes are basically exhaust from the chimney. How they behave, we can see here. So basically, from the previous analysis, we saw that super adiabatic condition is unstable, subadiabatic condition is stable. Okay. So the very first type of loop you can see, or plume you can see, is looping plume. So in this case, this figure corresponds to your looping plume. Okay, so you can see here the temperature comparison. So TA is your for atmospheric temperature, T is your exhaust temperature, and this is your super adiabatic condition. Okay, at a particular height, if you see that the adiabatic lapse rate is larger than, sorry, atmospheric lapse rate is larger than your adiabatic lapse rate. So super adiabatic condition, and that's why your atmosphere is unstable. So if the atmosphere is unstable, there will be both vertical as well as horizontal mixing. Okay, so mixing will happen. That means the air movement will be possible both in the vertical and the horizontal direction. That's why there leads to this kind of looping. Okay. And in case of subadiabatic lapse rate, any question? In case of subadiabatic lapse rate, you can see that subadiabatic, as already we know, it is a stable situation, and this stable condition, if subadiabatic, like if your subadiabatic condition is just reached, okay, like the values are slightly different, so just reached, then you can see that is going to form a cone. Okay, conical type of pattern. So in this case, there will be limited vertical mixing. Okay, so there is no horizontal mixing, but there will be limited vertical mixing. So that's why it
Excuse
will
me,
form
sir.
a cone.
Um,
Yes.
Sir, I don't know. Still, for me, it's only a black screen, only with the S appearing. I tried many times, but
What about others? Others can see my screen or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we
So
can
is
see
there
that.
something issue with your? Maybe you can follow the lecture video later on.
okay, okay.
Okay. So in this case, it will be coning, like when your atmosphere lapse rate becomes slightly less than adiabatic. Like I said, subadiabatic condition is just reached, so you will have just a limited vertical mixing, so it will form a coning. Okay, if your the other type is fanning, which is shown here. So in this case, atmospheric lapse rate is very small, or becomes smaller than your adiabatic lapse rate. So this is a subadiabatic condition, but quite established. So in this case, both horizontal and vertical mixing are quite suppressed because atmosphere is it's a stable condition. So you can see that it is kind of a fan. Okay, it stays here. Whatever pollutant you or the chimney exhaust will stay at a particular height. Okay. There is other type, lofting. So in this case, basically you can see that your super adiabatic condition lies above the subadiabatic condition. So this is your super adiabatic condition, and this is your subadiabatic condition. So since your super adiabatic condition, which is unstable, lies above this, so there will be a certain level above which you will have vertical mixing. Okay, because in the subadiabatic case, it will not, or the atmosphere will not allow the particle to settle down. Okay, so there will be mixing above this. Okay, so another type is pluminating. Pluminating, this occurs when you have subadiabatic condition above the superadiabatic. You can also realize by itself. So in this case, the pollutant will not go above this layer in the subadiabatic condition because it is stable. So whatever mixing will happen below it. And this fulminating condition is quite dangerous. And this is also looping condition is also quite dangerous. So in this case, what will happen? You can realize that looping means a large amount of pollutant will be dumped in this region, and again some amount of pollutant will be dumped in this region. So this loop will continue. In pluminating, so you can see that whatever industrial or residential area are here or corporate areas are here, they will experience lot of pollutant because you can see that the mixing happens in this region. Okay, so there is another type, tapping plume. So let's see. Okay, tapping plume. In this case, if you have subadiabatic condition, is tapped between these two superadiabatic. Okay, so you can see that. So wherever you have this subadiabatic, sorry, superadiabatic condition, there will be a region where your mixing will happen. So this region will be tapped, like in this location, and afterwards some other location. You will see that this tapping type of plume will be formed, and that will again affect to the people or resident of that locality. Okay, so based on the atmospheric and adiabatic lapse rate, you can compare how your air pollutant basically disperse. Okay, now that I
So
think
can you
that
go
is
back
what
to
we
looping?
discussed. Sorry?
How does, can you go back to looping?
Yes. Okay, so looping is here when you have super adiabatic condition. Super adiabatic means it is unstable, like your exhaust temperature is higher than your atmospheric temperature. Okay, so in this case, the mixing can happen both in the horizontal and vertical direction because the atmosphere is not stable. So that's why it leads to reduction in the temperature at one location. So that's a lot of pollutants settle down at one particular point. Then it rises again, and then it falls. So
So why
this
does
is
it
kind of,
rise again? I mean, since it's super adiabatic, it's unstable, then the pollutants will not settle down, right? So that means the plume should keep on rising. Is that what not it means?
plume initially it rises, but after a certain point of time, since the atmospheric temperature is also varying, uh, and as I said, the lapse rate will not be also constant. It will also vary as the temperature reduces. Okay, so it goes high, then the temperature, there will be a comparison between atmosphere and adiabatic temperature or lapse rate at this particular region, and maybe that leads to a downfall. Afterwards, the comparison is in some other form, which leads to a rise in the air pollutant. That means the density wise that might vary. Okay, so this overall the situation is unstable in this case. If the situation would have been adiabatic or subadiabatic, then it will be always stable. Since it is super adiabatic, so there will be different modes of instability. The way we discussed modes of instabilities in vortex dynamics, right? Something similar happens. We will not go to the details of it, but you can see that since it is unstable from the beginning itself, so it will lead to different modes of this oscillation. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So the last one is neutral plume. Like already I said, this will be seen during the neutral atmosphere, and neutral atmosphere means the atmospheric lapse rate and adiabatic lapse rate are same. So in this case, your plume will continue to rise. Okay, so I haven't seen some shown here. Okay, so I think it's already 12, so we stop here, and we will continue in the next week with the lectures. Tomorrow we will have presentation, tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Okay.
Sir, I have one doubt. Among the plume
Yes.
structures that you showed, which one do we desire? Is it lofting plume structure?
This one, if you can get the fanning type or coning type, mostly you will see that coning type. If you have seen any exhaust, you will see this coning type. This looping type you might see sometimes if the release happen in the noon, like in the midday. Probably you can see that because the atmospheric temperature is high during that time. But that's why the exhaust from the chimney, I mean industrial exhaust, they do at a certain particular time of the day. They don't do throughout the day. Okay, so they try to achieve this coning type or fanning type. The
Why not
lofting is,
lofting? Isn't that
yes,
better?
lofting is actually seems to be better, but eventually it will leads to I mean, you don't know whether it is going to mix up with your upper atmospheric layer and form some other type of like acid rain is one of the example, and other type of contamination. Okay, so that is also you try to avoid it. In case of coning, actually there is a smooth like a Gaussian type of distribution you get, and that's why you are having the concentration well distributed over the space, okay, in three-dimensional space. So this is kind of more desirable condition and doesn't hamper it's not hazardous to the environment compared to this. Okay, this is like if there is subsequent reaction with the atmosphere, so this may cause some damage. Okay.
Sir, in a coning type distribution, uh,
Yes.
how so since the pollutants will remain, let's say, in that Gaussian distribution which you just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
how are the pollutant concentrations in the atmosphere then brought down,
It
or
is actually spreading, right? You can see that the maximum concentration
so it will just
uh,
simply disperse and the concentration will decrease
disperse.
and
Yes.
become lesser? That is okay.
Yes.
Okay,
So if you
thank
can
you.
have longer distance this dispersion, then you can dump the pollutant at the seabed or somewhere far away from the city. Okay. So that's why we try to prefer this type of distribution. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let me take the attendance. Okay, I'm done. Okay, then see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.